Hey, what's going on, guys? Like Butter here, and today I'm going to be bringing you my high-end build video. So I'm going to be showing you guys two versions of this build. One when you're playing with people, and the other one when you're playing solo. So let's get right into the build. So this is my high-end G36/M700 build. The idea around this is to build a lot of firearms and a good amount of electronics. Now, I do have two different versions of this build as well, because yesterday I got some really good Skull MC gloves that had all the attributes that I wanted with decent firearms roll. So I'm thinking about testing this version out as well. So because a lot of people are building a lot of skill haste right now, because it's bringing skills off cooldown at a faster rate, which is why something like on my G36 having competent and adept is so incredibly strong on a hybrid build. Same thing with my marksman rifle. I have competent and adept as well, so I will get a lot more value out of building skill haste rather than something like, you know, 1,000 assault rifle damage, because I'm not always going to be using my assault rifle, and that little bit of damage isn't going to make a huge difference if you're, you know, using skills all the time, because when you're using the skills, you're going to get more of a damage boost from that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get skill haste on a lot more things. So this build is kind of a work in progress. I will do an update video maybe a couple weeks down the road when I get all the pieces that I want. But basically, I'm running a G36. This is a decent one that I got from the Dark Zone. It has responsive, competent, and adept. Like I said, if you're going to be running a hybrid build where it's like, you know, you're building a decent amount of electronics and a decent amount of firearms, I think having competent and adept is going to be very, very helpful for you. I'm also running responsive because a lot of the gunfights in PvP take place up close, so that's really positive there. Alright, let's look at the mods that I have on the G36. Now, I'm building around crit damage because we're going to be getting a lot of crit chance and a lot of crit damage from our pulse. There's 19% crit damage, 5.5% headshot damage, and 2.5% critical hit chance on my Pro Red Dot site. I can get a little bit better version of this if I end up getting a good one. 19%, 6% headshot damage, and 3% crit chance is like what you're looking for. I also have a loud vent break, 19% crit damage, 6% headshot damage, and 2.5% stability, which is the best that you can get in that slot. Also using a small grip, 90% crit damage, also a little bit more stability as well. I think I might change this for accuracy, because if I get one that has accuracy instead of stability, that would be really helpful. This one actually has accuracy here. But we'll just leave stability on for right now, and we'll test that, because I think the stability on the G36 is good enough. So maybe we do change that out for accuracy. It's not going to really change the build much, but it's just going to make, instead of it fixing a little bit of the stability, it'll just help the accuracy a bit. And for my magazine, I have 116% mag, extended mag, of course, 4% crit damage, 3% crit chance. I get asked a lot if it's worth running rate of fire, and honestly, in my opinion, 49 RPM is such a small amount. If you think about it, you're going to be shooting over an entire minute. Only 49 rounds is not going to make a big difference. So in my personal opinion, running rate of fire is not as helpful as running 4% crit damage. So keep that in mind. I'm actually on the lookout for a little bit of a better version of this. But yeah, 5% fire rate over an entire minute is not worth it in my opinion. M700 carbon. I got this a couple days ago. Slippery actually dropped it for me. This is obviously going to have a VX1 scope on it, because you want to build as much headshot damage as possible. 3% crit chance, 4% crit damage. Same thing on my barrel. 18.5% headshot damage, which is max, 9% crit damage, 3% crit chance. We're using a small grip, of course, so that we can get the most amount of damage out of our weapon. You can run, like, you know, maybe if you wanted a little bit of optimal range on this, if that's what you were doing. Maybe if you're running something like prepared, you do want to do optimal range on the underbarrel, but I always just use the small grips, because I think it's like the easiest to output the most amount of damage. And also another extended mag, 16.5% mag size, 4 crit damage for 3 crit chance. So those are my two main weapons. For my pistol, it doesn't really matter. I'm just using a golden rhino because it looks cool. Pistols are pretty irrelevant at this point. Unless you are using the bliss holster, then you want to use the 93R, which is why I have this here. But we're using nimble in this build, and nimble is not as strong as it was, but I think it's still decently helpful, especially if you are in a situation where you kill somebody and you're low, but you don't want to waste any skills. You can just, you know, get healed up real quick. So all right, let's go into, before we do that, let's get into this. So my chest piece is vigorous because this is the version of the build that you want to be playing with people, which you guys will see here. I'm running health, exotic damage resilience, and ammo capacity. Now, for this build specifically, you know, especially if you are comfortable dodging seeker mines. I'm pretty comfortable dodging seeker mines. I never let them hit me. I very rarely get killed by one. You can switch out exotic damage resilience for skill haste. Skill haste here would be a huge help, especially with me running adept and competent. You know, that would boost you know, my damage output and my heals tremendously because I will have them up more often, which will in return give me more crit chance and also give me more damage with competence. So that's something I'm on the lookout for, a vigorous chest piece with health and also skill haste there. But right now we're running exotic damage resilience, which is never a bad thing. Trust me, it comes in handy. For our mods, we're running skill power mods and electronics just because I needed to get my skill power up a bit. My skill power is actually a little bit on the low side. 144,000 is quite low. I'm usually more comfortable around 170, 160,000, especially with this type of build. But like I said, I got those gloves the other day, so I'll probably do a little bit of tweaking here to try to get my skill power up as much as possible. Maybe even think about putting skill power on my backpack instead of health. But, you know, that'll be something I test in the future. And so for our backpack, or rather for our mask, I'm getting ahead of ourselves, I am using a refreshed mask. Refreshed is insanely strong. I used to use Tenacious. I don't think Tenacious is as good. I think Tenacious is good if you're running with a healer build and you're going to be healed a lot and you don't really need that extra heal when you're in your last segment. But Refreshed is unbelievably strong because what I used to think is that it was only working with medkits. It doesn't. It works with everything. So whether you pop a heal or whatever, in my last video, if you guys watched it, I posted a PvP video with this build. I was actually using the other version of it, but I ended up going from 1 tick to death. I was bleeding out. I was 1 tick from dying, and I went all the way to almost full overheal because my self heal on the solo version of this build is like 197,000 HP heal, which is insane, and that gets multiplied with Refreshed, and you end up pretty much healing for your entire health bar if you're in that last segment of health. Not to mention it also works wonders with critical save. When you pop critical save, you get that little bit of damage reduction. You're also going to get a little bit more out of your med kits. So instead of like getting 50% of your health, you're going to get like, you know, 65%, something around that. So I'm running that. Also on for my mod, I'm running a skill haste mod. Now obviously here, once I get a chance, I'll probably switch these out for skill haste mods, but I haven't had a chance to roll many because I just rolled a bunch of masks because there is a firearms spec ops mask blueprint in the base of ops this week. If you guys want to pick that up, definitely good. Get yourself a good refresh mask. Okay, so for my knee pads, I'm using Shortbow Championship knee pads, which if you're running a PvP build or really just any build in general that is high end, you want these. The other high end talents are quite useless unless you're using them for PvE, so Shortbows are a must have. We're running firearms on this, health as the major attribute. Unfortunately, we got damage to elites here, but it does help in the dark zone from clearing landmarks and stuff like that if they're kind of just creeping up on us. But obviously here, I would like to have burn resist or shock resist. Burn resist and shock resist are the two most important in my opinion, so to get that there would be really helpful. I'm running 1 stamina mod just to unlock responsive. Now, in hindsight, I would like to have this also be 3% skill haste, so I'm just going to have to keep an eye out for a better mod. But I haven't been getting that many mod drops. I think they lowered it a couple of patches ago, so now it's more of just crafting it, and I never get lucky when I craft stuff. So, but that'll be better to get skill haste on there. That little bit of health really isn't going to help, but it does help get your toughness a little bit higher, especially if you're in the dark zone. And then I am using a Spec Ops pack for my backpack, which is a specialized version of that, also with health rolled. Like I said, I might change this out for skill power. We'll see, to try to get the skill power a little bit higher. Disrupt resist, you want to get burn resist here. Burn resist and shock resist are the two most important in my opinion. So we are also running an electronics mod here, which is also skill haste, which is good. We want to get as much skill haste as we can. If you can get around about 28 to 30% with this build, it's going to be really, really helpful. And then obviously we're running first aid, self-heal on all of our performance mods. So down to the gloves. These are the gloves that I got the other day that were pretty good. 6% crit chance. The crit damage is a little low, but it does have skill haste and a decent firearms roll. My other version of skull gloves that I was using had 1265 electronics, and we were running assault rifle damage, crit chance, and crit damage. So that's another version that I could run, but it has a little bit lower armor roll than these, and I think these are just overall just a little bit better. And my nimble holster, which I was so excited when it dropped, ended up having 1270 firearms, 1270 stamina, a little bit low armor roll. I guess it could be up near like the 980 mark, but it's okay. And I ended up rolling this, and I rolled to 1271, but my chat forced me to keep it at 1270 because I rolled 1270 the roll before that. So that's a pretty good looking holster there, 1270 across the board, and then 3.5% crit chance. So you notice I'm running crit chance on my holster and my mask. Both of these together, with the addition to like adept and like all the other crit damage that you're building on your mods. Don't forget we stacked crit damage on all of our our red dot, our barrel, our underbarrel, all that. So we're at about 100% crit damage. So that's going to be multiplying damage quite a bit. So there's also a different version of this build that I want to show you guys, but before we do that, let's show you the talents that I'm running. I'm running One is None, which is a must-have, I think, in any build. Triage, so like I said, this is a build that I'm going to be playing with people, so when I shoot my heal on the ground, you have your teammates run in one by one, and that's going to reduce your skills drastically. Even only one person going in is going to make a huge difference. 15% cooldown is pretty insane. And also you want critical save and combat medic. Now if you are running with a group and you can't communicate, maybe you're queuing up solo for last stand, or you're running solo in the dark zone, but you want to do like a little bit of PvP and hunt for rogues. Now I highly suggest this version of the build, which is made specifically for solo. Now there's a few small differences which we'll talk about here in a second, but the small differences are that I am running the old version of those gloves, which I could change out if I wanted to. Maybe if I wanted to switch this to, I don't know, if I wanted to switch this to my other skull gloves. Where are they at? Right here. So if I wanted to switch these gloves, now that would lower my skill power a little bit, but it would up my firearms quite a bit as well. But I think having a little bit more skill power, especially when you're playing solo, is very important. So I run those. 184,000 skill power, that's quite a lot. And I'm running Barrett's chest piece. Barrett's chest piece is very good if you're running in a solo build. If you're running with a team, I wouldn't recommend it because you're going to get a lot of wasted heals. So what I'm running here is actually skill haste on my chest piece, which is really important. We got health here as well to keep us alive. 1268 firearms, and I switched around the mods a little bit. I have some regular electronics mods here. Also, I think I'm going to put skill haste on that. I need to look out for some more skill haste, but the idea is to get as much skill haste as you can, so that you can get your skills off cooldown a lot more often. I'm also using refreshed, and pretty much everything else is the same, except like I said, I switched the gloves and the chest piece. And if you look here in our character, we'll have a decent amount of skill haste. I think it's like okay, so it's 14%, plus if I run the other gloves, right, say we switch this around, I go to here, that's going to bring me up to like 22%, I think. 22% skill haste, 23% skill haste. So now maybe I switch around some of my mods to unlock the electronics. So for example, like if I have a firearms mod here, which I do, perfect, we throw on an electronics mod right here. throw that on. That gets our skill power up a little bit, and it unlocks our talents, and maybe this is the version of the build that I want to use, you know. And it's definitely going to be pretty solid with my skill haste where it's at. Also, for talents and skills that I switched around, I am running strike back, which is really important if you're playing solo, because if you're low health, you're going to get your skills back, and your skills are so important if you're a solo player. I'm also running critical save in case I'm trying to get away or something, and running precision and one is none as well. If you don't want to use precision because you are using a pulse and you're going to have it off cooldown quite often, you could run, I don't know, on the move if you're doing more, you know, PvE farming, or you could run, I don't know, shrapnel if you're using Predator's Mark or something. That's all dependent on what type of, you know, solo build that you're running. You could also run tactical advance. I prefer precision just because even though you're going to have your pulse up a lot, there's a lot of in-between time there where that pulse can really, really come in handy. And with the amount of crit damage that you built on your weapons, you're going to notice that that is going to be very, very important. So that's what I like running. And for my skills, I actually switched my skills around just a tiny bit. I changed my modification for first aid from booster shot. As good as booster shot is, you know, you're just not going to get as much value out of it if you're running Barrett's chest piece. So I run the first aid heal, which you're going to see here is not as much of a heal as I said previously because we changed out the gloves, but 164,000 HP is quite a lot when you combine that with the refresh mask. I'll show you guys here how much you can heal for such a large amount. So there you go. I went from one tick from dying to even a little bit of overheal. So just to show you guys how powerful that can be, and that's only 164,000. The other version of the build had you know, over, I think it was something crazy around like 180,000 or 170,000 skill power. That's gonna completely overheal you when you're almost dead. So hopefully you guys enjoy the build. I do want to announce that I really appreciate the support over on my Twitch channel. We're almost nearing like 600 sub points, which we're getting a little close to that. I do want to let you guys know that these build videos are going to be out early for Twitch subs, so if you guys are Twitch subs, you should be getting a message from me on Twitch soon kind of explaining how you're going to be getting build videos 48 hours early. So that's going to be pretty cool. You guys are going to get a jump start on other builds, and I have tons of new ideas for different variations of this build, and also new ideas for builds that, you know, you guys haven't seen before, which obviously the high-end build is a pretty popular build, so I do want to make some other builds that people don't usually run. Thanks for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to drop the video a like. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I will talk to you guys in the next one. Take care, everybody.